Welcome to Juggling Interviews. This episode is brought to you by eJuggle, the IJ's official online publication, where you can find the latest juggling news, articles, videos, and podcasts, just like this one. If you want to check that out, you can head over to their website at juggle.org/ejuggle, or with the link in the description. This episode is also sponsored by Play Juggling. On their website, you can find high-quality props like balls, clubs, rings, diablos, poise, fire equipments, flower sticks, glow props, and tons more. Head over to playjuggling.com and use my code XavJuggles, XavJuggles10, to get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support me, so thank you a lot, Play Juggling. Now let's get to the episode. Hi guys, welcome back to Juggling Interviews. Today, I have the great pleasure of having Jonah Botvinick-Greenhouse with me. How are you doing, Jonah?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing super well. I'm super stoked to have you, because I remember one of the first videos I've been watching is some of the WJF compilations, and I remember seeing you being my age. I mean, back in the days you were my age when I was watching the videos, and I was super impressed. I was oh wait, at my age I should be doing that kind of juggling tricks. Damn, I'm I need to catch up. Anyways, so it's nice to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
In the last episode, I had Matt Wemsley ask a question for the next juggler, and it turns out to be you. And the question that he asked for you was, how much did juggling affected your overall athletic performance?
That's a good question. I consider myself to be a pretty athletic person. In other sports, I feel like they come pretty naturally, but it's hard to say if it's juggling, all the juggling I've done that has made me more athletic, or I just happen to be a little athletic, which is why I took to juggling naturally. It's probably a little bit of both. So I haven't tried too hard in other athletic endeavors. It's probably helped me a little bit, but hard to say.
Yeah. But maybe if we turn the question a little bit around, have you noticed any improvement of athletic performances throughout other sports as you were progressing in juggling, or was it taking too much of your time or your energy, so you end up lacking a little bit on other sports? Or
There was actually one point, when I was in high school, I played a lot of ultimate frisbee. I was on an ultimate frisbee team. And there was a small period of time where I actually was more excited about playing ultimate frisbee than I was about juggling. And there was some competing interest between frisbee and juggling, because I would go with all of my friends to the field to throw frisbee and run around. So it had this nice social aspect too. Eventually juggling won out, but I would play frisbee for maybe 6 hours a week some weeks. So it was a big time suck too.
Oh yeah, no, I feel it. When you have two passions at the same time, it's always hard to have a perfect balance, or not trying to compromise one another.
Yeah, I've kind of found that there are a lot of different things that I like to do. I still like to play frisbee. I also play cello, and I do math. That's my main job, and it kind of comes in waves between them all. So maybe over the summer I'm focusing a lot on juggling, and then during the year I do a bit more math research, or there's some waves where frisbee comes around too, and cello. But it's more there's a few months at a time where I really focus more on something and let other things drop.
I'm curious. Yeah, how do you manage to balance such a is it a desktop job, or are you always on your computer doing calculus and stuff, and then you have to balance the professional juggling aspect to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that my life right now, my job, which I'm a grad student in applied math, that's coming first, and then I'm kind of juggling in the cracks, but there's a lot of flexibility as a graduate student, and so I actually do end up having a lot of time to juggle, which is what I've been finding recently. And so, yeah, when things are busy with work, then I'm not juggling as much, and then when I have the chance, I end up juggling a lot, and that's why maybe you see on my Instagram account, every now and then there's just a big spurt of posts that I'm putting out there, and that's when research is less intense and I have more time to focus on juggling. So it's not going to be sustained forever. I'll get busy again, and then I'll post less, and then it'll come back.
It makes sense. Yeah, it's just perfect balance. I mean, during the summer too, it's always good to have free time and just go around, do your sport, come practice here and there, hop in, hop out. Do you always practice inside? Because we mostly see clips of you juggling inside, or in squash courts.
Yeah, I'd say I practice almost exclusively inside. I think over the summer I will try and practice outside a little bit. I think it's fun to practice outside. I just find that conditions make it very difficult to juggle as well as I would like to, or as well as I would be able to, compared to when I'm inside. So the wind can be very strong. Sunlight, the angle's bad. I mean, you know all the reasons it's hard to juggle outside. So I prefer inside when I'm trying very seriously. Yeah.
But even like overall, I barely touch rings. But I can't imagine for you, like you're one of the great ring jugglers out there. So you must like just keep the rings inside, because the one time you take rings outside, you realize why people don't take rings outside.
Yeah. It's not possible to
No.
juggle rings outside. Yeah, just period. Even clubs, it's very hard to juggle outside, I find. So whenever I juggle outside, I'll
Yeah.
almost definitely be juggling balls. Yeah.
Because also like right before the podcast, you told me that you juggle PX3 lights, which I've been using too,
Extra
and I
lights.
noticed that my patterns like been shifting mid-air. Like you juggle a really basic like 4 club fountain, you see it just drift,
Hmm.
and yeah, no.
Yeah.
Even though you think it's a
Yeah,
big
you have to
object,
start throwing them the other way. Yeah.
there you go. Or also like any super high throw, like you want to do like a 9-3-3-3 kind of trick. You see the 9 going like way far off. You just have the threes
Yeah.
about, yeah, nah. Yeah. Actually, the first questions I usually ask is how did you start juggling? But like we went on a little tangent. But yeah, I'm
No worries.
curious. How did you get introduced to juggling? How did you start juggling?
Yeah. So I was 10 years old when I started juggling. I had a friend, his name was Sam at the time, and we would hang out pretty regularly, maybe once a week, a couple times a week. And every time we would hang out, he was going through this phase where he was getting really into juggling himself. And so he would always want to juggle, and he would want to teach me how to juggle. And I think it wasn't something I was so into at the beginning, but every time we hung out, I would try for a little bit and then maybe get discouraged and stop after like a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes, something like that. But after a while of hanging out with him and him trying to teach me to juggle, maybe like a month, I had a solid 3 ball cascade. And from that point on, something kind of clicked and I got super into it. So Sam, he was showing me videos of like WJF and Anthony Gatto, Vova Galchenko, all these great jugglers. And that's what was inspiring him at the time. And then it kind of rubbed off on me and I just took it from there.
Wow. Like, are you still in contact with Sam? Like, how does he feel about you being like top notch juggler nowadays?
This is something I unfortunately haven't been able to talk to him about recently. Yeah. I haven't been in touch with him for many years now. It would be interesting to catch up and see. Yeah.
It'd be funny. Like, I know a lot of people really want the juggling to be in the Olympics. I just imagine one day Sam goes to the Olympics and see you like just juggling. Oh wow, oh that'd be funny. Yeah. Well. Do you remember like any of your first tricks that you were super hyped to get? Like, were you watching like Anthony Gatto as you were doing 3 ball cascade and then like trying to already step up with the numbers, or like did you try doing any like
Uh,
360s, like the classic Mills mess, factory, box tricks?
yeah. So when I was learning, like at the very beginning, so there's a great YouTube community of jugglers at the time where everyone was posting their tricks to YouTube. And this is something that Sam, my friend, was doing. And so he would like to take these videos of himself and post the tricks to YouTube. And so I kind of started doing the same. But I think it's kind of rare that you see someone do this from the very, very beginning. So I have
Mm-hmm.
videos on my YouTube channel when I like can barely juggle 3 balls, just doing like reverse cascade, and I'm like super hyped to get it. And so, yeah, you asked what tricks I was excited to get or pushing for in the beginning. I think you can actually see like the full documentation of everything if you just scroll all the way back on my YouTube account. And so there's like some with columns, one up 360, reverse cascade, and you can see I get excited about them. And even like in the background of some of these videos, I'll be like watching the WJF competitions while I'm juggling and filming these. So yeah, that's what it was like at the beginning.
Oh, that's fun. Like, I know maybe like 80% of jugglers delete them from the channel once they get better at juggling.
Yeah.
And I also did a little bit of that on my Instagram. I used to like post anything. I was just like you. I learned like 3 clubs,
Uh,
and like I remember like filming like random like just little flares under the arm, and then start a cascade, and that would feel like a trick. And I'd post it, being like, here's a trick, guys.
yeah. I definitely at one point thought about deleting all the old videos from my YouTube, but I'm happy that I didn't. And so they're all still up now. You can go watch them if you're
Right.
curious. Embarrass me. Yeah.
So please,
Um,
if there's any new jugglers, please film a little bit of your progress, because once you get to pretty far into juggling, you notice that you maybe missed a lot of documentation you would have liked to have. Like, film your little achievements. Like, film your first 5 ball flash, your first 7 ball flash, your first qualifiers of tricks. It's always fun to see, like, you younger being so happy about little tricks. Like, these are like super cool achievements. They are not.
yeah.
They're technically, if you take it in comparison to other like top-notch jugglers, you may feel like it's nothing, so you don't feel like proud to film it. But even the top-notch jugglers felt proud doing the first like round of factory, for example. So it's always cool. Like, just
Yeah.
enjoy every step of the way and try to film a little bit.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
my
Honestly,
personal
early on,
advice.
those are some of the tricks I probably felt the most proud about doing. And I think it's fun, like posting those like 1 year of juggling video, 3 years of juggling, and you see where people were at after that amount of time. I think a lot of people used to do that. Maybe I'm just not on YouTube as much, but I feel like I don't see as much of it anymore. So
Yeah,
it'd be cool if some people started doing that again. Yeah.
yeah. I used to see like even like in the Japanese community, I saw like a bunch of like 3 ball jugglers doing like, oh, 2 years into to moto juggling, 5 years, 3 years, and they were all like crazy fast into the. They took the
Yeah.
progress like to the next level. So I was watching these and I had like 2 years of practice too, and I was wondering where my skills went because the guy was like doing 7 ball stuff after 2 years. I mean, yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know. It's always fun
Yeah. Yeah.
to see where people put their energy at. It's crazy.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, you got very good at juggling like pretty early on, because we see like clips of you at WJF being like crazy young, and you tell me you've picked up juggling at 10 years old. So like,
Yeah.
how was
Yeah. I was 10 when I started.
how was the first couple years of progressing? Do you remember like the first milestones, who you were with? Maybe did you have any teachers for juggling? Did you have any inspirations close to you?
Yeah, I would say that the part of the reason that I was improving so quickly is that I was using the WJF as my inspiration from the very start. So I was watching all of the competitions, and so there was this like emphasis in my mind, like from the very beginning, on like having good form and doing things cleanly and progressing like the right way, whatever that might mean for different people. But I, yeah, as far as milestones go, I don't know. I remember after about 1 year of juggling, I was just starting to learn 7 balls. But I was already trying like a variety of like site swap 360s with 5 balls. Um, and I was starting to try and recreate some of the moves that I had seen in these WJF competitions. Um, in the beginning, I was having a lot of fun, just trying to progress as much as I could, and I wasn't thinking too hard about what that might mean. But I was watching these videos of jugglers online on YouTube of Anthony Gatto, Vovagelchenko, these WJF competitions, and I started basically working up to try and recreate some of the tricks that I had been seeing, and that was fun for me.
It was crazy. Like, I don't know if I heard it well, but you said after 1 year you were messing around with 7 balls.
I think after 1 year, I could do like 9 catches of 7 balls with some struggling. So I wasn't quite there yet. I think now there's jugglers that after a year they're like running 7 balls somewhat comfortably actually. So I'm not sure that like for instance Kevin, who maybe you know, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure after a year he was running 7 balls. Um, yeah, after yeah, that's where I was at.
No, but still, like, wait, run me through this. Like, you said 1 month for the 3 ball cascade. How did you pick up four, five, six in less than a year?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there was a big change in my mental attitude. So like that 1 month, I just wasn't that excited about juggling. It wasn't something I was taking seriously. And then once I could do it, I felt the rhythm, something clicked. I was like, this is really cool. And then I just went full steam ahead on juggling. And so the mental attitude really changed. And it was like the number one thing I focused on that year. So I probably juggled between like I forget now, maybe 1 to 3 hours every day. And I think the type of practice I was doing, it wasn't just like stand still and try stuff over and over again, but I had cameras set up. And so I kept watching myself. And I think there was some feedback loop with how
Mm.
many videos I was taking and documenting my progress that helped me, one, maybe develop good form as I was going, but also It's when you're benchmarking your milestones along the way, I think it motivates you to improve a little faster. So all those videos I was posting were helping me improve, and also getting positive feedback from people as I was posting those was super encouraging and motivated me to keep going.
But wow, like at 11 years old, you were that serious and meticulous into your juggling and having like feedbacks. Like you
I
try
mean,
to look for mistakes at 11. Like it's crazy. Like that's very mature way of going on about the sports aspect of the juggling, right?
I would say I wasn't. At that point I wasn't looking for mistakes explicitly. I think it's kind of just implicit in the fact that you're like watching yourself juggle, and as you watch yourself, you kind of see what's happening, and maybe reflect some changes as you try it again. Like even if I see videos of myself juggling and then I go juggle again without even thinking too hard about what I saw in the video, I notice my juggling improves.
Okay, I see.
I did deliberately try and correct form error a little bit later on in my practices, but I think that first year I was just going for it, not thinking too hard.
And yeah, did you have any friends or mentors that you were hanging around with? How was the first step into the juggling community in real life?
Yeah, so I kept juggling with Sam, the friend who taught me the three ball cascade, um, for I would say maybe around the whole first year of juggling. So he was there for that very rapid um, time of improvement for me, and that was fun. And Sam was also very good. He could juggle seven balls too, what I remember. Remember, he could definitely qualify six. Was working on like six rings maybe, and so we were both improving pretty quickly together, and that was a lot of fun. Um, Working on these tricks and practicing together. We would go to the Princeton Juggling Club together every week. His dad would drive us down there and juggle with some people there. So I'd say that I was teaching myself most of the tricks, but there was definitely some in-person community of jugglers that helped motivate me a little bit too. Yeah.
Do you have any names that may resonate with people nowadays? Is there any like WJF contestants you used to hang out with, or was it just the once in a while you were doing the competitions and meeting all these crazy jugglers that now are like crazy popular, right?
Yeah. So like that first year when I was going to the Princeton Club, I unfortunately don't remember the names of the jugglers there. But my first WJF was WJF 8. That was after I had been juggling for about 2.5 years. And so that's when I did the juniors competition. And so, yeah, there I met some amazing people and amazing jugglers. That's where I met Noah Schmeisner, Ofek Sneer, Doug Sayers, Vova Galchenko, Josh Horton, Joe Showers, Jason was there, all those people. And that was actually the first like proper juggling festival or convention that I had been to.
Oh,
And so I just like walked in the doors and was like shell shocked. It was so cool.
yeah.
It was a big moment. So yeah, yeah, that
Wow.
was a
And do you remember any of the comments from these jugglers? Like, were you getting tips from some of them? Were you starting to hang around with? Did you have any inspirations, or like did you try to copy some of the other people's tricks? Did you get any feedback?
yeah, yeah. I don't remember too many of the specifics, unfortunately. But definitely, I think I remembered maybe Doug was giving me some tips about some stuff that I was working on. Um, I think that Doug and Josh and Joe Showers maybe got a bit of a kick out of watching me warm up for the competitions. I remember I was like practicing out in the center of the stage for a while. Um, yeah, yeah, it was just a really fun time. I think it's pretty funny. So I met Ofek Sneer there. That was the only time I've met Ofek. When I met him, he didn't know how to do 720s or 1080s, which is one of the things that he is now
Yeah.
very, very famous for. Um, so I got a kick out of that looking back. Um, and there's a period of time where Noah and I were trying to teach Ofek how to do 720s. So I don't think we can claim credit, but it's a little funny.
Do you remember having to prep up for the WJF being super young, like doing the juniors? Like, do you remember
Mhm.
any of your signature tricks you were trying to improve in? How did you make out your practice sessions into the last couple months before having to step on stage and like perform these?
Yeah, I don't remember too many of the details. I just remember I was super excited and super pumped, and I spent a lot of time practicing for it and building the routines into something that I would be excited about. Um, I don't know that I was too systematic about how I would practice it. I think I would just like run the tricks a bunch of times, over and over again. But there's not much more to do other than that,
Do you
in my
remember?
opinion.
Do you remember some of your signature tricks? Like, was it one trick that really scared you? Like, you were trying to hit that one trick, or otherwise you wouldn't be proud of your performance. Did you have like any
Mm.
beast trick you were trying to defeat?
I don't think so. I think I played it relatively safe with those routines, but I do remember I was warming up like on the stage before the competition. And I think that Josh Horton asked me while I was warming up, "What's the hardest trick in your routines?" And the answer was 5 up 360 with rings at that time. That was the big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. Yeah, I'm super curious actually. I think you're one of the rare jugglers that actually take a lot of time and effort into all three big props. How
Mhm.
did you shift your focus and like how did you introduce? Because you said you started with balls, so how did you introduce clubs and rings? Do you remember the order? Do you remember like lacking in rings for a little bit or lacking in clubs, not wanting to get this and this? What was the challenges of having to
Yeah.
like introduce new props into the routines?
Yeah, it definitely. So I started with balls, and then I think rings came, and then clubs. And when I started with clubs, I had these like they weren't even like plastic juggling clubs. They were made out of foam, and so they were like very light and hard to juggle. I wouldn't recommend starting with these. So I think it took me a while before I actually caught up my progression with clubs to the level where I was at with balls and rings. But I think because Sam, who I was learning from in the beginning, he juggled all three props and he was showing me videos of people with all three props, I kind of just assumed in my mind, this is what you should do. Most people just juggle all three props, and I was trying to recreate these tricks with all three props. And so now I know that there's a lot of people that specialize with just one prop or maybe a couple props. Maybe some people don't juggle rings or don't juggle clubs. And I think the way it shapes up for me nowadays is I have phases where I prioritize one prop over the others. So like the last few months, I'd say this month I've been really focusing on rings, but up until this month, maybe 3 or 4 months up until then, I was really going hard on club juggling. And so maybe balls will be next. And during those times, I still juggle all three props, but it's like maybe I juggle for 2 hours and spend 10 minutes on balls, 30 minutes on rings, and then the rest on clubs, something like that. So it rotates, and it's nice to switch them out depending on when I get bored or excited about something else.
Nice. Okay, wait. So you're saying like your practice sessions are separated into three props. So you start with the two first that you don't really focus on at the moment, and then you go all out with your main focus for the session, and then you just go until you're tired, or
Uh,
how do you separate your practice sessions?
yeah, so that's one example. It can be kind of random. I'd say that there's two different formats for my practice session that I'll do. So one will be I cycle through prop by prop. So maybe I go balls, rings, clubs, and then spend the amount of time that I want to spend on each. Or maybe rings, clubs, balls, or clubs, balls, rings, something like that. Um, but then sometimes what I like to do is go by the number of objects that I'm juggling. So maybe, and this is what I like to do when I'm not actually feeling as warmed up as I would like to be, where going to higher numbers like 6 and 7 actually feels pretty bad on that day. So sometimes maybe I'll warm up with three props with balls, rings, clubs. Then I do some 5 object juggling with each, um, and then keep increasing the numbers. And sometimes I'll do some hybrid between them, where maybe I go through all balls, rings, clubs, and then I think to myself, what was the most fun or what do I want to work on of all the things I cycled through, and then focus on that and kind of bounce back and forth, also depending on energy level. So my practices are very kind of variable and fluid. Um, that's not like a strict structure that I do every time.
Do you do you often freestyle or just practice with music? Do you try to do random connections, or do you always like have a little bit of an idea of what you want to plan out if you want to practice, let's say like 360s, so you just like do multiple random 360s?
Yeah,
How's your freestyle parts looking?
yeah, I'd say that a lot of my practice actually falls under this freestyle category, where um, maybe there's not necessarily one set goal, but I'm just going to run through a lot of tricks that maybe either feel good or fun to do, or in the back of my mind is maybe something to work on. But it'll be like different trick after different trick rather than breaking down one move. And I like to listen to music when I do this, but it can be hard because if I wear headphones, they fly out when I spin, and that can be a big part of it. But basically, I find that as far as music goes when I juggle, it's a lot more fun when I'm listening to music a lot of the time, but I do not juggle as well when I'm listening to music. And so the moments where I want to be very serious and like generate good progress when I practice, I will take out the headphones and practice in silence and like really pay attention to every detail.
Have you ever tried taking earbuds? Have you messed around some earbuds? Because I used to work at Best Buy, and I used to do multiple tries and like research every single earbuds to see which one has the best quality, the best price, and the best fitting
Mhm.
for jugglers. And
Oh wow.
it depends on your ear shape, but like I noticed that the AirPods Pro are the ones that
Hmm.
doesn't fly away, because
Okay.
the AirPods Pro 2 especially, because they're like super light. So I mean, it's not gonna be the funnest part of the podcast, but like if you have a lot of mass that sticks out your ear, like headphones,
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
I mean headphones is different because it's literally not in your ears; it's just on. So like anytime you move your
Mhm.
head, it's just like keeping the same.
Yeah.
It's just keeping the
Yeah.
same place that it was because you're spinning too fast. But like your earbuds, if they're too if there's too much sticking out of your ear, like there's too much weight around, so like when you spin, the weight's gonna go like straight towards the front, so like your earbuds might fly out to the direction you're spinning. But if they're super light and like AirPods are like flat on your ear almost, it's like
Right.
keeping them
Hmm.
tucked, and since it's light, there's not much weight to like spin around and have like centrifugal force.
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't I
Sure.
don't know the
Sure.
English word for that. Force centrifuge. I know the French word though. Yeah, so there's not
Nice.
much force as you're spinning that like wants to make the earbuds fly away. So yeah, just try to search
Yeah.
up for
Yeah.
earbuds that are like pretty flat and pretty light, and also these have good sound
Ah.
quality, so I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah. I started using these earbuds. Yeah. I actually have them here with me. I don't know what they're called. I bought them because they were relatively cheap, and I thought I would give them a try. But they have this like over ear component.
Yeah,
And
yes, yes, yes,
these
yes.
these are the best thing I found so far, but they still will fly out. So your recommendation is AirPod Pro 2.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your
Okay.
ear
Okay.
shape because I think I heard Jean-Baptiste Dio. I think it was him.
Mm.
I was talking about it, and he says that the AirPods just doesn't fit his ear. Just depends on people's
Okay.
ear shape, I guess. But like I
Right.
noticed
Right.
that with every earbud, they all fly out unless they're like long and on your face rather than like there. Because there's some earbuds that are like mostly round. They stick out more,
Mm.
and these
Yeah.
are easy to fly out and they're more heavy. Anyways,
Mm.
that was the
Makes
sound.
sense.
That was the sound part of the the podcast. Yeah. I'm curious. Like you've been posting more lately. You've been more inspired to do some Instagram posts, and lucky for you, you got like good traction on some of your recent posts. Like, tell me how's the content creation part of your life right now? How's it going on? How do you plan out your posts? Do you trying to think for the audience, or are you still trying to think for the jugglers? How does it work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think of my Instagram account as an account for jugglers, and then whoever else likes to watch it. That makes me super happy that people are following it and enjoying it, who aren't jugglers. But I'd say the intent is to make this content for jugglers. Um, I'm not thinking about it too hard. It's just kind of fun for me to post videos out there. It seems like people enjoy it, and I enjoy showing people what I'm doing. And so when I go to practice, I will dedicate like a certain amount of time most days now, maybe 30 minutes, 60 minutes to like think up a trick that will be fun to do, that I'll be happy to get on camera, and then to try and film it. And so it's been a good regular part of my practices. I think there actually is so there's two things. One, it's fun to post these videos and show people what I'm up to, but it's also good for my practice, just as like juggling practice goes. For me to be making these videos, I've realized it's given me a bit more motivation to try some harder things that I wouldn't necessarily be trying. And I actually do think you improve a lot when you're trying the same thing over and over again in front of a camera. So, for instance, if I'm trying like a seven club trick, um, I will have to watch videos of myself trying and failing over and over again And as I'm doing that, I'm kind of correcting my form and making it look as good as possible. Um, and a lot of the tricks that I post on Instagram, some of them are the first time I do it, but a lot of them, the first time I do it, it doesn't look so good. And so I do it again and again, and I try and make it look nice.
Do you
So
ever
yeah, yeah, I think it's good practice.
do you ever go back to these tricks? Like, have you practiced any of the tricks you've posted recently and trying to make them more solid, maybe for future routines?
I think that some of them will eventually get that sort of treatment, but recently I'd say the tricks that I've been posting are a little too hard for me to hope for them to be solid just yet. Like 8 ring 6 up 360, I don't plan on performing this anytime soon.
That's
Um,
crazy. Oh,
um, but I think it helps my overall consistency for similar tricks that I would want to perform, like maybe a 6 ring 6 up 360. But it's way more fun to try the 8 ring version a bunch of times than it is to just to drill that 6 ring. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow. How do you manage to jump? Because let's say someone listening just learned their 5 rings. What would you
Mhm.
recommend to level up the most efficient way and also the maybe the funniest way? Because you don't want to just drill the same boring side swaps over and over. Like, let's say you want to
Yeah.
jump from five rings. Maybe do you recommend jumping to 6, or recommend doing like 360 work or like side swap work? What's the best way
Mm.
to progress in your opinion for these kind of jumps?
Yeah, okay. I would say it depends a lot on what your goal is. I think rings are a really fun prop because there's the most throw combinations out of any of the three props, in my opinion. So rings, you have pancakes, flats, reverse, overheads, all those. There's all these combinations to explore. So for instance, if you have 5 rings, you could start throwing some half shower maybe, or reverse throws. And I would say that is it's definitely quite a bit harder than the 5 ring cascade, but it's a super fun, different looking trick that will help build the overall skill level. I think 360s are a fun way to go. There's different site swap like rings on and off of your head, pancake pull down, stuff like this. With rings, there's all these fun things to explore. I'd say compared to balls and clubs, well, maybe balls, um, with rings, even numbers are not so hard relative to the odd numbers, I think, is what I find and what most people find just because the rings are so skinny. So
Mm-hmm.
going from 5, I'd say the definite next step is to go up to 6 because there's very little room because the ring is so skinny for these things to collide. And I think building up like the speed and consistency with that one extra ring in the air will help a lot as you keep increasing the number. I mean, even with balls, you should probably go 6 balls before you go up to 7 too. But especially with rings, I don't see any reason to skip 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, the thing that gets annoying, even with clubs, especially with clubs, is the way you go from 6 to 7. You have to like manage to hold 4 and manage to
Yeah.
release 4 rings and 4 clubs out of your right hand or dominant hand. Like, it's so hard to like, because right now I can do like, personally I can do maybe like 20 catches of 6 rings, but I never flash
Mm.
7 rings because I just have too much of a hard time trying to release the last one just on the tip of my fingers, because you have to like interlock some of the rings between some of the fingers, and then you have like one just barely holding between two fingers.
It's super hard. I'd say releasing both 4 rings or 4 clubs from one hand is not an easy thing to do, and it takes a lot of getting used to. Even like I can't really release 4 rings comfortably from my left hand, so I like start with 8 rings with one between my leg. I can do 4 for my left hand. It just hurts when I do it, so I need to train the muscle to be stronger or something with how I do it isn't quite right. Um, and 4 clubs is also very hard and takes a lot of time. I think there's a lot of things like this in juggling where it deserves like 3 to 5 minutes of practice a day, and that's all you should give it. And then just move on to something else. And if you do spend like 3 to 5 minutes working on that 4 ring release from your right hand or from your left hand, after like a month, I think it'll be super solid. And it's like you've spent almost no time working on it because what's 3 minutes out of your practice? Um, but it is super hard. And I say that, and I still haven't bothered to learn it properly from my left hand. So should take my own advice.
I mean, I think it's still working pretty well for you. You with the little 6 up, the 360 with 8 rings. I think you're not struggling too much
Yeah, yeah,
with your rings, but
yeah,
but yeah, like I think okay, good insight. 3 to 5 minutes, so you don't like bash your head over it and get tired of like practicing it. So you should do small increments of little practicing the little twitches of progress you can have for a big achievement like 7 props.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in juggling like this where just a little bit of time every day will go a long way, and over time, that short amount that you've dedicated consistently really adds up. So like balancing is one thing for me. I haven't worked a lot on
Mm.
club balances on my face, and I'd say maybe a few months ago, maybe a year ago, I the time kind of flies, but I could not juggle with three clubs as a balance. And it's something that, like,
Mm.
as a joke, when I'm tired in my practice, I'll just mess around with for like 30 seconds. And now I can do three clubs comfortably with a balance. And so it's a little thing. It's not something that I'm working too hard on, but maybe it'll add up one day and I'll be running five with a balance.
Yeah,
Um,
there's like
uh,
there's so many of these little tricks that you don't really notice, but you see everyone doing, but you never really try them until you're like a couple years behind, and you're like seeing the people that used to be at the same skill level than you, and today they're doing like
yeah,
the same exact tricks you practice, but they try with clubs, with
yeah.
clubs with a balance. And you're like wondering
Mm.
how they could when you're still doing like three club with a balance, but like have you noticed the stuff like Moritz has been doing with the
Oh yeah, yeah.
balance?
He's insane. He's been pushing super hard. Yeah,
Like eight
it's
clubs.
incredible. It's like there's glue on his forehead or something.
I'm just wondering, like, because I've been struggling with balance too. Like, same maybe like
Yeah,
a year ago I learned to do with the three clubs, and it's hard to for me to jump from three to four clubs with a balance. Like I find it hard to like separate my hand from the looking up. And like, there's some people
yeah,
just
yeah,
doing seven club runs with the balance. There's just that kind of
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm also struggling with four with the balance. It's a mental game for me. It's like what do I focus on? I know I'm supposed to focus on the club that's balancing, but easier said than done. And I
Yeah.
think it's the kind of thing that will come eventually. But yeah, yeah. It's nice also to practice a whole variety of tricks. So like things like balancing that I don't consider myself very good at. It's fun to work in there as little breaks during the practice too. And there's so many different tricks. So I just try and hit like all these different categories of tricks during my practice, like back crosses, overheads, shoulders,
Mm.
flats, singles, reverse pancakes. There's so many things to do, and it's kind of fun just to cycle through a lot of them.
So wait, since you're doing like all three props usually, as you told me, you do a rotation, but then you have to like practice a little bit of each thing within each prop. Like let's say, like you said, pancakes. You have to like practice flats with clubs, practice back crosses with balls, overhead with balls. Like,
Mhm.
do you spend
Yeah,
like 2 minutes
I'd
per
say it's
tricks, or do you like take time on each of them?
not even 2 minutes sometimes, maybe like 20 seconds per
Oh,
trick. I just like I'll do each one like once to remind myself
okay.
or build it up a little bit, and then I'd say that I will choose like one thing to actually focus on and spend like a very long time focusing on that. So maybe I run through all these different combinations with like flats, pancake, reverse pancake with rings, and then do something with clubs. But then I really want to improve my seven clubs, say. So I'll work on very consistent triples and like building up the length of the runs that may be throwing some tricks. But usually the structure of my practice is there's some period of time where I'm just kind of messing around freestyle, trying to cycle through all these different moves, and then some period where I'm like very focused on one thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, how long those are changes depending on the day.
Are you the kind of person that takes maybe like 40 minutes to land a trick? Do you ever do that kind of stuff, or you? Because you seem like you cycle through. Like you prefer not sticking around too much on something that maybe gets a dead stop because you're not getting much progress, so you rather like cycle through. But do you ever get to these points where you're like trying to land a trick so much that you spend like all of your practice session just on one trick?
I would say I never spend all of my practice session on one trick, but there's definitely times where I spend the majority trying to land one trick. It's not fun for me to do that with tricks that I have done before, but sometimes if I'm
Yeah.
trying to film a new video and I'm like, this would be an exciting thing to do, I will have a lot of fun setting up the camera and just trying on repeat until it happens. Like that seven club throw and catch behind the back, I was going for quite a while before I actually hit that one. It was a hard one for me. Um, and I try and make it productive so it's not just a waste of time, like waiting to get lucky, but I try and focus on the other things that are going on while I'm trying to hit this trick. So like if it's seven clubs, trying to make sure I have good form, like improving how the runs are going, where my shoulders are, the pattern height, common problem I have is like the left hand will throw a little bit too low or the center will
Mm,
be a little crooked. So I try and pay attention to those. So I try and keep it productive while also
yeah,
trying something on
learn the
repeat.
trick. Yeah.
And I find that's pretty fun. But a lot of the tricks that I'll post on Instagram are not things that I get within the first few minutes because
Hmm.
they're too far beyond my like baseline skill level for that. Yeah.
Have you planned to do any long form videos? Have you tried maybe brainstorming
Yeah.
for a big project, maybe a big video? Because I don't remember seeing like super long format videos from you
Mhm.
on YouTube or on Instagram even. Like
Yeah.
have you done some of like the 10 minutes plus videos or around
Oh,
10
like long
minutes mark?
form, like 10
Yeah.
minutes plus.
Yeah.
I have not thought about this yet. That would have to take some serious thought for me to figure out what that would look like. And if I were going to do something like that, I think I would want to work with a camera person
Mhm.
to do the filming and find some really nice locations to shoot and build um, some nice scenes and story out of it. I think that's something I would be interested in, but I don't really have the bandwidth or time to do by myself right now. So if anyone is interested, wants to help me film this, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, reach around at G Botvinick on it, J Botvinick on it on Instagram. Yeah, a little help would would be appreciated. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
let's say someone is like trying to get comfortable with clubs and they're at a pretty good level. They're reaching the 5 clubs and they see you doing your crazy club juggling or I'm talking club.
Mhm.
I'm trying to like put a little bit of emphasis on all 3 props. I've talked about rings
Oh
earlier,
yeah, yeah, that's
going
fine.
from
That's
5 to 6 rings,
fine.
but yeah, I'm trying to go over all the props because you're really good at
Yeah.
all of them. So it's good to have you giving tips on these.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's say someone is like going learning 5 clubs. Is there any? Because there's a big block when you learn 5 clubs where you get to the cascade
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, what's next? And everything next is harder than everything you've learned so far. Like going from 3 to 5, you can get some like okay 3, and then you do 2 in one hand, then you get 4, then you get like 5-3 as a side swap. Then you get some of the tricks like
Yeah.
the outside fours. Then you try some of the 5-5-5-0. Then you do 5 clubs, and then you're like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you
Yeah.
try 6x4 or like half cascade, half shower, nothing works. If you try like any of the 6 clubs, 6 club patterns, side swaps like the 6-6-6-6-6 zeros, everything's
Mhm.
too hard. Like, how would you suggest normal 5 to 6-7 club progression?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm going to assume that this juggler is somewhat comfortable with the 5 club cascade. It might not be so consistent, but maybe they can like run it for like almost 10 catches every time they try. So like the throw heights and the spins are there that they're like beginning to juggle 5 clubs a little bit. I think that the first thing is to maybe build up the endurance a little bit. So where you're able to run for like up to maybe 30 to 40 catches every now and then so that those runs are possible. And then once you're able to juggle 5 clubs for this amount of time, it's possible to start trying to throw some tricks. And so I remember for my progression, um, I think the first tricks that I was throwing with 5 clubs, just like a single round of 7-4-4 and back. And that's going to feel super hard. And it's going to be super weird because that high triple out of 5 clubs is very scary the first time you're throwing it. And something that I think people will realize as they're beginning to throw tricks, coming from like a basic 5 club pattern where they haven't been throwing tricks before, is that they need to maybe adjust the height of their 5 club pattern to accommodate these tricks. And this is a major thing with club juggling. So, for instance, if you're juggling 5 clubs at the height that you learn to juggle 5 clubs at, chances are it's going to be a little too high for that 7-4-4 to be comfortable, and you're going to have to rocket the 7 up very high. And so I actually think that there's something about getting comfortable with the pattern when you transition to 5 clubs that means lowering it a little bit and being a little comfortable at that lower height so that these tricks are easier to get out. That was from my own experience what I found to be very helpful. It'll change based on the juggler. But I think 7-4-4 is a good one. Even trying some 3 up 360s is super hard at the beginning and it'll be uncomfortable. But I think throwing them and trying to see that all your throws are going to the same level, maybe try and re enter a few times. Eventually it'll click. things like this, maybe going for a couple rounds of 744. Singles are a good possibility. Um, I think five club singles, oh, singles and triples are two things to try once you have good five club doubles. Maybe one round of 645, a little bit of 6x4. 6x4 is actually a nice one because you don't need to start the base pattern to enter the side swap
Yeah.
comfortably. And so that's something that you can start from cold. This might be one of the first tricks you're comfortable hitting with five clubs because you're able to start cold. And so you don't have to, like, fingers crossed that your five club pattern doesn't explode before you get to it. Um, but yeah, I think specific feedback would really depend on the juggler. And so, like, watching videos of someone trying these things with five clubs, um, everyone would have different tips that they should receive based on where they're at. But that's like the general progression that I went through that I think could be helpful for some people.
Yeah, but do you
Yeah.
agree that once you land the some qualifiers of five club cascade, you get to a big wall. Like you literally block. Like it's
Oh yeah.
so hard to get anything else than just to qualify here and there. Even if you do endurance, like my personal case, I have maybe like
Yeah.
I could get 100 catches run of five clubs, but I cannot get 5 rounds of 6x4. Like it's just a block. It's just a
Oh
block.
really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
yeah. I do remember it is really hard going from qualify of five clubs to being able to do more past that. And I think when in my juggling progression, that was one of the defining moments where I was like, wow, things are really moving. Like I was, those are some of the tricks I was the proudest to do. Like
hmm
a five up 360 with five clubs, or even a three up 360 with five clubs. For me, those were very big markers in my early development as a juggler. Things that I was really proud about. So yeah, I completely agree. Those are super hard transitions to make, and I remember it being very hard.
And I think for the ending for the three props for balls, um what are the tricks that you think are the most evergreen? Like if you learn a trick with like 4 or 5 balls, that's gonna help you with everything later on. Like even if you get to 7 balls, 8 balls, is there some tricks that you need to specifically learn when you first start getting to maybe more than 3 balls? That's gonna help you for forever.
I see. I'd say, well, okay, the classics that I always come back to, like when I'm warming up, that I feel like do help me when I go for like 7 balls, 9 balls, working up to these bigger tricks, are sight swaps and 360s with 5 balls. I think those are the core of a solid technique. Being able to change the rhythms and the heights, being able to spin under the pattern so you have control and can re-enter. These are all hard things to do. That any sort of style or technique that you want to build off from this, you kind of need that fundamental to be able to do. And so, yeah, at the start of all of my practices with balls, I'll just cycle through a bunch of easy side swaps with 5 balls,
Okay.
like maybe 10 in a row, and maybe a few side swap 360s even. So I think that, yeah, regardless of whatever technique you're trying to build up, whatever tricks you're working on, side swaps and 360s with 4 and 5 balls will be your friend. Yeah.
What do you think about tricks like shower or like Mills Mess? Are these like more kind of solo tricks? Like they're as they are, and they should be like just cool tricks on the side, or do you think they're beneficial for any later improvement?
I think that they're beneficial, especially if you do the shower on both sides, which I do not do myself. I know this is something Doug Sayers can do. He can run comfortable showers on one side, then switch the 5 ball shower over to the other side, and it looks exactly the same, which is super impressive. Um, I think that they look incredible, and I don't know that. So first of all, shower is a site swap. It's a 9-1 or a E1 depending on how many balls. And so I think it does fall in the category of like you're changing the heights and you're changing rhythms and speeds, and that's helpful. Um, so yeah, definitely. And Mills Mess, I think it's good for Mills Mess type patterns and cross arm patterns, building up that foundation. So if that's something that you want to incorporate in your style and technique, then you should definitely be working on it. It's something I'm trying to get a little bit better at. I can do a Mills Mess, but it's kind of inconsistent with 5 balls. And it's funny you mentioned those two, shower and Mills Mess, because there's really nice connections in and out of them. So
Yeah,
Spencer
yeah.
does a lot of these, but like shower, you can transition into Mills Mess beautifully, then you can go from Mills Mess into shower beautifully, and it just kind of like cascades up to one side. Um, so I think that's a really fun connection to work on, the Mills Mess to shower.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, like something real aesthetic. Like one of the tricks that I don't see often, that I've seen you do pretty consistently. You do these 540s where you do more than a 360 and then you end up like facing the camera. You often do that with rings.
Ah,
Like you throw some behind, then you do a 360, then you spin a bit again just to get in front of the camera
mhm.
and then do like flat fronts, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I love the visual because also when you think about it, the rings are like in front of you. They're like on the thin part, right? If you are in the POV, you see the thin part of the ring, but then they
Mhm.
don't change perspective. It's just you changing planes, and they keep the same path, and then they're in front of you now. It's just I just love the visuals on these. It's just too cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, those are a lot of fun. I like it a lot. It was really confusing for me when I was learning how to do it because you can think you have two throwing and catching locations when you start. You have right hand, left hand, and then the way that I do it, my right hand is throwing to a completely new location, which is neither of those two, and my left hand is throwing to where my right hand was before, and so I'm just kind of rotating over here. So my right hand actually throws behind me, and then my left hand throws to my where my right hand currently is, and then I
Ah,
somehow try and track that to where I am. So it was a bit
wow.
of a mind bender. I saw Doug Sayers doing the 90 version, and I thought it looked super nice, and so I just tried to add some extra spins to it.
Yeah. Also, like I think when you're one of the very, very, very skilled juggler with the pirouettes. Do you have any tips on pirouettes when you get to the next level? Because you often when you start with three ball pirouettes, like it's just you try to release all of them. You try to throw them high so you have a lot of time to do the 360. But then once you get to like 4, 5, 6, and you do pirouettes, you get stuck under like a big pattern that's falling on you. You cannot just cheat it
Mhm.
by throwing super high and hope it lands in your hand. So like, how do you plan out
Yeah.
your pirouette? Like you're doing a pattern, you know that you're gonna do a, let's say a 5 up 360. How do you manage the? How do you visualize your 360s and how do you want to execute them to have the perfect form and always have like a good spinning technique and have the pattern fall right where you need it to?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think that the 360s, for me, I'd say the form for them starts with what the feet are doing to get you around in that circle. And I think compared to what people do when they start out with 360s, it's not a very dramatic motion that you need to make with your feet to actually propel yourself around in that circle. So I see a lot of people when they're learning 360s, they start by taking like a massive step back or a massive step forward to prepare for that 360, and then it's this big effort to get around. Your foot, the amount that it moves back to start that 360, the spinning foot, is relatively negligible. I think if you look at any of the videos where I'm doing 360s, you'll see some preparation for it, but I'm almost standing in exactly the same place when I do it, and this is true of um, most jugglers that work on 360s a lot, I believe. And so I think the first thing is like making sure that this 360 is not a super power intensive, time consuming motion, so you can like get around efficiently. And there's lots of tips for the footwork on how to do that. So like for instance, I have like one spinning foot and one braking foot. So my spinning foot is my left foot, and I spin like on the like ball of my foot, like near the toes, and my braking foot, most of the time it doesn't actually leave the ground, but it's just like slightly touching. And then as I move around so that I've made the full 360 degrees, it just starts putting more and more pressure. So I come to like a
Mm.
smooth stop.
Okay, wow.
Um, then, so that's the 360. And then it's kind of decoupled from the juggling. You need the juggling to give you the room to do that. And you need those throws to be consistent and solid. And then those are the two ingredients that combined add up to a clean 360. I think it's hard at the beginning disentangling these from each other because the way that you make your throws will distract you from trying to do a 360, and the way that you're 360ing will obviously distract you from the juggling that you're doing. And so I think practicing them individually and then bringing them together is the way to do it in the beginning. And just a lot of trial and error and like filming videos of yourself seeing what it looks like is what I recommend. Yeah.
And for a, let's say you want to do a 5 up, do you recommend people to do a pretty low five so then you have the most accurate throws, or do you? I know it's different from each jugglers, but like in general, with your technique and what you've seen works best, do you do low? Let's say, especially with like when you do a two two ups under. Like you do 7 balls and you do a 5 up. Like, do you try
Mhm.
to keep them like super low, so then the two balls right next to it are like barely throwing higher? Because right, if you let's say you want to throw super high, you have to like put more time between each throw.
Mhm.
Or actually, wait, no. You could like just jam it in super high and super fast. Now that I'm thinking about it, I just don't know which way is the most effective, because you can throw them super low and then like do a very fast 360, and like your pattern almost looks the same as if you didn't do an up,
Mhm.
like any higher motion. And I know people doing like
Mhm.
super high throws, and then when they come back, they all fall like super slowly into place. Which one is the
Yeah.
most effective?
I think that you need a balance that works for you, and so it's some trial and error to see what that looks like. So I'd say you don't want to rush the juggling pattern. So you don't want to be like frantic or in a panic state when you're coming back around to like get to everything quickly enough. So you definitely need to throw high enough that this isn't going to happen. Um, but the higher you throw, the harder it is to re-enter cleanly. Um, so what I like to do is actually lower my base pattern height before I spin, just in general. Like even if I do a 5 ball 5 up 360, like something that for me is very consistent and solid, I think I still lower my base pattern height compared to what it may be at normally a little bit before I enter this 360. Um, just because that last throw comes out sooner and then I have more time to get around. And then when you re-enter the pattern, it can be back at what you would consider a normal height for your juggling. Um, and this I notice has a big impact if I'm juggling like 7 balls, for instance, or 7 clubs, and I'm trying to do 360s. This goes for all tricks, not even 360s. If you're doing a hard trick, sometimes lowering that pattern height slightly before trying it.
Mm-hmm.
This is like one of the like top 10 things that has helped me a lot when I am like kind of stuck with something that's not working. A lot of times, if I just lower my base pattern, I have a bit more control when I'm trying it. Um, this varies depending on the juggler and where their pattern height already is. So maybe my patterns are a little bit higher than someone else's would have been, and this
Yeah.
wouldn't be good advice for them. But I think in general, you just need to find the right balance between you need to throw high enough that you get around comfortably and then have time to re enter. But the higher you throw, it's going to be harder to be accurate. And so when I do my 360s, I like it to be so that just as I come around, there's balls that are falling into my hands or clubs that are falling into my hand. So I haven't wasted energy throwing higher than I need to.
Do you almost do a
Um,
blind catch as you're done with the 360, or you have time to see them coming down?
no, there's no blind catches. Yeah, I'd say you need to be able to see them as they're coming down. Um, but just so I like to do the 360 so that just as I come around is when they're in my field of vision falling into my hands
Okay.
right away.
Because have you seen
Yeah,
like Masahiro Takahashi doing some of the 360s like with clubs, and then he like just
uh
spins and like the hand is here. He's just barely looking at it. Like he just spins it just right in his hand.
Yeah, I think that depending on the direction that you're spinning, so some people will try and specifically spin in the direction that their throws are being made. So, for instance, I spin to my left all of the time. I can't spin to my right for 360s, and so this is the wrong direction if you're juggling an odd number of objects, and that can make it harder to get to that first catch. Uh, so, for instance, if you're
Yeah.
spinning, if you're throwing with your right hand, a 5 up 360 with balls, and you spin to your right, it'll be easier to snag that first catch in a way that looks like a blind catch, kind of like what Masahiro does. Um, I'd say that when he's doing that, my guess is that he still knows where that club is going to be because he either tracked it right before he spun or during when he was spinning, or maybe he sees it slightly after. But I'd be curious to look at a video after this to see what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I'll put a note to myself to show you the one, because I have one in mind. Like he just get a blind catch. I mean, Masahiro is a
Yeah.
different kind of juggling beast.
Yeah. Yeah. He is.
Do you have any jugglers you really like at the moment? Do you, in the last couple of years maybe? Do you have any recommendations for people listening to the podcast?
I'd say. I mean, okay. Yeah. At the moment, a lot of the jugglers that are inspiring me. Some include like Spencer, Kaito, Masahiro, Delaney, Jack Denger. Um, yeah, that's a good list of some people, and there's definitely a bunch others. Um, I've been enjoying Matt Walmsley's series of posts on Instagram documenting his progress. That's been a lot of fun to see. I think there's not a lot of jugglers that are really giving everyone that much of an insight into their practice sessions, and so that's super nice. Yeah.
I just noticed that I did a mistake. It was not Misahiro, it was Kaito actually. Now that you mentioned
Oh,
his
it's
name.
Kaito.
Yeah, it was Kaito. It was Kaito. Yeah, well, these are great recommendations. Yeah, really check out Spencer, Misahiro, Kaito, Matt Wimsley. Even you mentioned Kevin, Juggler Kevin on
Yeah,
Instagram.
Kevin too.
Wow.
Yeah, Jean Baptiste. Yeah, he's posting a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much great juggling on Instagram happening right now. It is exciting. Yeah.
I mean, as we're gonna close up the episode, I want to ask you, what can we expect from you in the near future? What can we expect from Jonah?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, this summer I'm excited. I'll be doing the teams competition at IJA with Chris Hodge. And so we've been practicing together a bit over the last year, and we put together a routine, and we're both really excited about it. So that'll be fun. I'll keep posting on Instagram these tricks during my practice. I do want to make a bit of a more long form video, not quite like 10 plus minutes like you said earlier, but like I used to make these like 2-3 minute videos put nicely to music. I might try and do another one of those this summer. Um, I think that would be fun since I have the time. And then more of a long term goal for me, I think it would be really nice to try and compose and record some of my own music to set to a like a stage juggling routine. So I play cello and I've taken some composition classes, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. So I don't know if I'll have time for that in the near future, but this is more of a long-term goal of mine that I think would be fun. And
Yeah.
yeah, just continue trying to push the technical level too. There's some tricks I'm excited about that I want to try. So yeah, there's a list of things that in the back of my mind.
Is there any platforms you can listen to your music? Have you published anything?
No, no, I don't know that there's any platforms.
Ah, I mean that'd be a great project. I think that's
Yeah,
just a blend of creation. Like you just put the music to your juggling. Also, it's like tailored to yourself. You can always make tweaks and like, yeah, I love the idea. Juggle the
yeah, I
cello.
like the idea. Yeah, yeah. I did do an act at IJA many years ago where there was a cello involved and some cello playing in it. Um, but I do like the idea that if I'm composing the music, I can really sync it all up perfectly to some of the tricks that are happening. So, for instance, like five rings, if I throw like a reverse on like every fifth or seventh beat, that's something that I can make sure is like
Mm,
perfectly synced up to whatever music is happening.
yeah,
So I think it would be a hard project, but something that would be really nice. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, thank you so much, Jonah, for coming to the podcast. It was a pleasure having you. And
Yeah, yeah,
please,
this was a lot of fun.
people, please check out his Instagram, his YouTube. Can you point down under your face? There's the at J Botvinick. Look out the content. Like the Instagram is popping off right now. Just be part of the wave. There's like so many people discovering Jonah. I hope you're one of them. Jonah's a Jonah's one of the real talented jugglers we have. So I'm so proud to have you here on the podcast today. Thank you so much for your time,
Thanks so
and
much.
yeah, keep juggling, keep having fun. It's cool to see you doing that.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one. Wait, psych. Wait, what's the question for the next juggler? I almost forgot about it.
Okay, yeah, I've had the whole episode to think about this. Okay, my question for the next juggler is, what is something about your practices that people would be surprised to find out about?
Ah, great question. Well, see you guys in the next episode to see who's gonna be the juggler answering that question. All right, thank you for real this time. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. See you.